Welcome to the Caregiving Podcast. I'm Inga.
And I'm Julie.
And long story short, we have Caregiving. We are two momtrepreneurs who have built an in-home care business from the ground up, guided every step of the way by God's care and fueled by agape love. Almost 14 years later, we felt called to create this podcast as a resource for families with caregiving needs. Whether you care for a family member or are looking for advice on professional caregiving, we want this to be a platform to support you.
Each week, we will come to you with encouraging stories of families who have found the right balance for their loved ones, tips for how to care for them and you, and much more. We hope you continue to join us each week as we share in this exciting new journey together.
Hello, Sunshines, and hello, Julie. How the heck are you?
I'm really good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh, gosh. I played hooky yesterday, so that always helps the attitude.
Yeah, you had a good day yesterday.
I had a good day. I got to share some time with my mom.
Yep.
And it was just a beautiful weather. It was just a good day.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad you were able to do that.
Yeah, thanks for picking up my slack.
Yep. I can't take all the credit. There's a team of peeps around here that love to cover for each other, and we need to play hooky.
That's right.
Oh, goodness. So we have kind of a serious topic today, but before we get into that, I was just wondering, have you ever cried because you were so happy?
You know, I have found out throughout this tough exterior that there's kind of a sappy bugger inside.
Yes.
Yeah. What is that? A crunchy? It's just like a candy bar where it's crunchy on the outside and gooey on the inside.
Is that what it is?
Yes. But yeah, gosh, you know, I'll never forget. You know, like when Bailey actually ended up with their big, master's degree, I cried.
Yep.
I remember when my brother Richard and Carmen told me that they were pregnant for the very first time.
Aww.
I cried. I mean, I
there
cried.
is a softie in there.
There is, Hallmark movies, they hit me every time. But yeah, I'm not too proud to say that I will cry.
Yes. I'm the same. Occasionally big things happen and you're just so overjoyed that you just cry.
Yeah.
Well, good.
What about you?
Absolutely. Yes. And most of it, are you surprised? Most of it is just, when people around me that I love, when they find success or they find things that they love or they reach goals and achieve things, it means a lot to me. So I was thinking about it a little bit, and a couple things. My youngest daughter, Bailey, of course, the lamb showman, she had a goal this year going into Montana State Fair, and she wanted to be able to win the market show with a lamb that she bred. Mm. She was able to accomplish that goal, and so you can bet your bottom I cried. But I also at times cry over different things. My girls make me incredibly proud, and most recently I had told you a little bit about it, but Sammy applied and was accepted into a certified medical assistant program through, I believe it's Purdue University Global is what it's called. Oh, so nice. She's pretty excited about that. And that stuff really means a lot to me. I love that the girls are those forever learners and always looking to try to improve themselves. So yeah, little things. It's not always big sobbing alligator tears, but nope. I definitely do. They do roll when good things happen, yes, for sure.
Isn't that the best?
Yes, for sure.
Good.
For sure.
Good.
Coolio. Well, as I stated, we are going to be, we've got a pretty serious topic today, and it is about seniors and mental health. But I'd like to read a verse to you that really hit me as I think about this topic. And so it actually comes from a Joel Osteen, I guess it's called Today's Word with Joel and Victoria. So I want to give credit to that. But this verse is 1 Peter 5:10. The suffering won't last forever. It won't be long before the generous God, who has great plans for us in Christ, eternal and glorious plans they are, will have you put together and on your feet for good. He gets the last word. Yes, he does.
That's awesome.
Yep. There's always hope.
Yes.
There's always hope. And it doesn't, we're all going to have days when we feel down and maybe things aren't going our way or not how we thought they were going to go, but just keep the faith because it's not going to last forever. There's always hope, and God gets the last word.
Yep, he is in control.
For sure. If you have a verse that you would like to share with us, please send it to thecaregivingpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's thecaregivingpodcast@gmail.com. And share those with us and maybe let us know why it's meaningful to you. If you just like it because you like it and that's all you have to say, that's okay. Send that to us too. Again, thecaregivingpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to roll into uplifting stories because I have one. We know Thanksgiving is coming up, and I stumbled across this story, and it's actually, this is like its 6th year. This is a story in motion, and if you're okay, I'd love to share mine. I can't wait. I'm like a small child.
Go.
Okay, so this story actually starts all the way back in 2016, and it starts with a text message. There's a lady who sent a text message out, and it says, "Thanksgiving dinner is at my house on November 24th at 3 p.m. Please let me know if you're coming. Hope to see you all. Of course, that includes Amanda and Justin." The response to this text message is, "Who's this?" "Your grandma." "Grandma, can I have a picture?" "Of who?" "Well, you, LOL. So grandma proceeds to send a picture and says, "Yes, here I'm at work." To which she receives the response, "You're not my grandma," along with a picture. "But can I get a plate though?"
Oh.
To which grandma says, "Of course you can. That's what grandmas do. We feed people." So this story, the context of this story, Jamal Hinton and Wanda Dench will be celebrating Thanksgiving together for the 6th year in a row. Back in 2016, Wanda texted Jamal inviting him to her holiday dinner, thinking it was her grandson. Her grandson had recently changed his number at the time, which she didn't know. Oh. Jamal and his girlfriend, Michaela, drive from Tempe, Arizona to Mesa every year to join the Dench family. Last year, Wanda's husband, Lonnie, passed away. To honor his life, they kept their tradition with a much smaller gathering due to the pandemic. Wanda, who grew up in a military family that moved often, says, "We moved around a lot, so I was always going to new places. And so strangers were not strangers to me. Family is more than blood. It's the people you want to be with."
Oh, wow.
How cool is that?
Yeah. Wow.
So random. And I just, like I said, I came across it. I'm like, this is a story that will go on forever. And I really hope that every year it gets updated with their Thanksgiving picture, because we do have many years of Thanksgiving pictures.
That is adorable.
What a neat, what a neat thing to have happen.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before, where you get a text message from somebody that's not actually looking for you. It did not turn into a Thanksgiving feast and like a forever family. But I thought that was neat.
Oh, it's a very cool story. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Mine is Somebody Cares, a Laugh a Day. This gal's name, Rogine Hingston. Her daily emails brought a much needed laugh to family and friends. Excuse me. And she said, "The COVID pandemic had me feeling lonely and sad during the spring of 2020. Then I came across a photo that listed reasons we should still be hopeful. I emailed it to my friends and family members. Many of them wrote back, saying not only had it brightened their day, but they'd forwarded it to their contacts. The next day I read a joke about how when we'd changed the clocks for daylight savings times and we hadn't known we were switching the standard time to the twilight zone. I laughed and sent the joke to my email list. People thanked me for their morning chuckle. Realizing how much everyone needed a laugh, I began sending a joke 7 days a week, plus an inspirational quote on Sundays. It was a lovely way to keep in touch with family and friends. Though I had planned to retire as the pandemic wound down, I ended up enjoying the daily emails so much I kept them going."
Wow.
So there she gave just a little bit of joy to people every day.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Actually, it's ironic that that's the story I picked.
Yep.
And the topic is, how are we reaching out to our people?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we just get right into it. And honestly, the topic is seniors and mental health. And we just wanted to bring light to a situation that maybe doesn't get as much attention as it should. But I think that we're doing better in our communities to address these things. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to tell you that health has been defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Because mental health is essential to the overall health and well-being, it must be recognized and treated in all Americans, including older adults, with the same urgency as physical health. For this reason, mental health is becoming an increasingly important part of the public health mission.
I think that this last year has really brought this topic to top of mind because it is one of those things that we just don't think about it, especially us that are busy.
Right.
We just don't slow down to realize that there's a lot of people that are isolated.
Yes.
And
so there's a lot going on out there, and it's not that every situation is forever, but I think we need to take some time to really think about, what are some goals and what are some things and what can we teach and educate people about mental health so that they can stop and go, hey, maybe I could do a little bit better in this way.
Right.
I would like to say that goals and traditions of public health and health promotion can be applied just as usefully in the field of mental health as they have been in the prevention of both infectious and chronic diseases. Public health agencies can incorporate mental health promotion into chronic disease prevention efforts. They can conduct surveillance and research to improve the mental health evidence base and collaborate with partners to develop comprehensive mental health plans. So I think that maybe, Julie, it would be really good to just talk a little bit about what are some of the big ones. We know that depression is a very big mental health issue, and it does not just affect youth. It does not just affect, young people like us, right? It does affect our seniors, and, what do we need to know about it, and what can we do to help people that are going through this?
Right. They even say that at least 20% of people that are 55 years old and older have some kind of a mental health concern. And so what are those? We're not just talking mental health in terms of mental illness, because there is a significant amount of that. But what are the things from day to day, the depression, the anxiety, and all of that?
Yep. So they say actually that the presence of a depressive disorder can often adversely affect the course, and it can complicate the treatment of other chronic diseases. So the significance of depression, it's pretty big. And depression, it's a type of mood disorder. It's most prevalent. It is the most prevalent mental health problem among older adults. It's associated with distress and suffering. It can also lead to impairments in physical, mental, and social functioning. The presence of depressive orders often adversely affects the course and complicates the treatment of other chronic diseases, as I had said before. So, unfortunately, depressive disorders are widely recognized as a condition, and they're often untreated or undertreated among older adults.
There was a survey that went out, and one of the questions is how often do you feel that you get the social and emotional support you need?
Yeah, interesting. I'm looking at that as well. And the numbers are kind of staggering because it shows a map, and it's, there's a 0 to 7.87% of people, which is on your lower end, but it actually goes up all the way up to like 17.74% of people that reported that they rarely or never received social support that they needed. And social support serves, it's a major support function. That's emotional support, informational, instrumental. And these things are super important to our aging population, who I think, as they age, they kind of lose people around them to a degree. And so the more and more and more that happens, the more isolated they become, and the less they feel that they are supported socially.
Yeah, I know that every time my grandmother has a friend that passes, it really puts her into a funk.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that that people start to kind of just look around them, and they see everyone that they're losing around them.
Yeah. Yeah, but I have to laugh just a little bit because it includes, like you said, the emotional support, which is sharing problems or venting emotions. That is you for me, you lucky gal.
Same, sister.
But a lot of people don't have that. And to have that close person that they can just visit with or cry with or whatever, and that really, to hold that in, I just know with myself and my own personality, holding things in is just so negative. And if you can just spout it off, oh gosh, it's like it's gone.
Well, they do say that like adequate social and emotional support is associated with reduced risk of mental illness, physical illness, and mortality. So it's important.
Yeah.
It's important. You need your village. You need your tribe.
Yeah. Yep.
We can't do this alone.
Yeah. The good news is there are a lot of people that do say that they have that amount of support that they need. But then we have the ones that just simply don't. And they're the ones that fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So I think if you think about it, or if we think about it together and our listeners, if you see somebody that's struggling, or that maybe they're feeling alone, what can you do? Is it that little, the little quote, or what can you do to try to bring a little bit of joy to someone, just so that they don't feel like they're alone?
What is that one saying that, when you're in the grocery store and you compliment somebody on their hat or their jacket, and that may be the only nice thing they hear all day long.
Yeah.
From a complete stranger.
Yep.
And you have no idea that what you just said as a passing moment made their whole day.
Yes. I think it's important to look at people and, make eye contact and make sure that they feel that they are being seen. And something that I had actually learned from my grandma Fisher, it's interesting because so many times we think out of respect that we want to say Mr. Fisher, Mrs. Fisher, but my grandma said we want to be called by our name, which is interesting to me. But you know what? We're just humans. We just want to be called by our name.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Cute.
Anyway, so one of the other questions through one of these studies was talking about, in general, how satisfied are you with your life?
Well, that basically is influenced by your social economic status, your health, and environmental factors. And there's a lot of variables when you talk about any of those topics.
Right. And I think we do say to ourselves as much as to anyone, what are the things in your life that you can take control of to help make your situation better? Because it does start with you, for sure. So, try to be doing the things that make you feel better. Find something that brings you joy.
Right. Dissatisfaction is associated with obesity and risky health behaviors such as smoking, physical inactivity, and heavy drinking. A lot of people that are depressed, what do? They try to self-medicate. And what is that with? A lot of times it's alcohol, and alcohol already is a depressant.
Right.
So they don't think about two depressants making it
a worse situation.
Yeah.
Well, and how many times, Julie, have we been sitting at our desks and you're just in a funk and one of us says to the other one, get up, let's go. We're going to go walk around the block.
Yeah.
And what a difference that makes.
Yeah.
It just clears your head. And, not everybody can take that full stroll around the block, but maybe it's just getting up and taking a walk around the island in your kitchen, or walking down the hallway in your apartment to get the mail. Just little things like that.
Opening the shades.
Oh yes, that's a big one.
Yeah.
On that isolation too, when you're just dark and closed in. Even at home, I think about, some mornings on the weekend I'll get up and I haven't pulled the shades up yet, and I just feel like something's missing, something's not right. And then you pull the shades and all of a sudden you're looking out into this beautiful world and the light comes flooding in and it just makes a big, big difference.
Oh, that's so good. That's awesome. Yes. So a lot of people do say that they are satisfied or very satisfied with their jobs. And there is, a percentage of people that are dissatisfied or very dissatisfied with their lives. And some of those are between like age 50 and 64. And I almost wonder if it's just because of that part of their age. They're like, what have I done with my life? What am I going to do with the rest of it? And you get hard on yourselves. Yep. And you're just like, I'm not where I wanted to be, or why did I get myself into this situation? 2020, when you look back at stuff, right?
Yes. Hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think you start to get into that age group and things are changing for you, and major life changes, and maybe you're getting closer to retirement, and, there's just big stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I do think that what you say about that reflection back going, did I do everything I wanted to do? Can I still do those things? There's a lot to think about.
My knees are creaking and my back hurts. And I went to bed and I woke up in worse shape.
Hurt myself on a pillow.
Yes.
That's happened. It has happened before.
Yes. One of the questions on the survey was, now thinking about your mental health, which includes stress, depression, and problems with emotions, for how many days during the past 30 days was your mental health not good?
Wow.
And a lot of people had really bad days.
Yes. And they talk about like frequent mental distress, This, I'm assuming, goes back to that how many bad days out of 30.
Right.
And the people that are having frequent mental distress, that it can interfere with major life activities such as eating well, maintaining a household, working, sustaining personal relationships. So, if you are having that, or if you are witnessing someone who is having those frequent type of mental distressors, definitely you want to try to get involved and help them work through that to minimize those episodes, because it can have an effect on your overall physical health. Older adults with those frequent mental distressors, they're more likely to engage in behaviors that can contribute to poor health, such as smoking, not getting the recommended amounts of exercise, not eating a good diet with fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, it's, for the most part, all of these things are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But just from a different angle.
Yeah. One of the things that we wanted to make very clear is, as we talk about the word depression, depression is different than just being sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I am very sad because somebody is sick.
Right.
Depression is more than just that passing mood.
Yes.
Rather, it is a condition in which one may experience persistent sadness, withdrawal from previously enjoyed activities, difficulty sleeping, physical discomfort, and feeling slowed down.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the risk factors, if we think about the population that we're mostly working with, so some of the risk factors for late onset depression would include things like widowhood, maybe a physical illness, maybe someone has a lower educational attainment, maybe there's an impaired functional status, or a heavy alcohol consumption.
But the good news is that depression is one of the most successful treated illnesses. There are very highly effective treatments for depression in late life, and most depressed older adults can improve dramatically with treatment.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing about it, is that there has been so much innovation and so many opportunities for people to either take medications or just try different things that can help treat depression. So it's not a great thing, but there's help.
First off, we got to figure it out that that's what is happening to us.
Yep.
Because sometimes it happens to you and you don't even realize it.
Yes.
You just get into that funk. And I have to laugh, and I think I've said this before, but the other day I walked in and you looked at me and you said, "Are you in a bad mood?" And that is not depression. That is just, but I have a village around me that if they think I'm in a bad mood, they'll kick me out of it. Probably kick me right in the butt. And say, "No, you're not doing that." And are you and I think specifically you said, "Well, are you going to get over it?" I was like, I don't think I have a choice.
Oh man.
So if you have a village like that, but if you don't, you have to reach out. Mm-hmm. You have to reach out, and you have to say, I don't feel good. I need help.
And know that it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the struggle that comes along with depression is you can't see it.
Right.
Right. So it's not like a broken arm. It's not like, you stubbed your toe and now you're walking around with a boot on. You cannot visibly see what is going on with someone. So we have to look at these other factors and give validation to those.
That reminds me of years ago, I worked for a neurosurgeon, and a lot of the stuff that came in with the client and their spouse or whoever would come into the doctor's appointment was mental health. Mm-hmm. And what they would finally figure out is, like, when you go to a neurosurgeon, it's something internal. Mm-hmm. You've got this back issue, you've got the headaches. You can't see that. It's not like you broke your arm and you're in a cast, and so everybody's like, "Oh, you have an owie." It's all internal.
Yes.
So people cannot see the internal that you're going through.
Right.
And then they get frustrated with you because you're not acting whatever normal is.
Sure.
And that causes more and more burden as well.
Yeah, I think it tends to make the person who's going through the depressive episode, they feel like, God, am I crazy? Or because it's hard to explain what's happening. And like you said, the outsiders that can't see truly what's going on, do they get frustrated? Yep. And what's the matter with you? You look fine. You look great.
Fine, right? That's what we hear all the time.
Yeah.
You look fine. What is wrong with you?
Yes.
What's your problem?
Yeah. And that's not okay.
It's not. No.
The other thing that often goes along with depression is anxiety.
Yeah.
And anxiety, like depression, is among the most prevalent mental health problems among older adults. The two conditions often go hand in hand, with almost half of older adults who are diagnosed with a major depression also meeting the criteria for anxiety.
That's a terrible feeling.
It is. We were just actually talking about it the other day. I think over time, you maybe have had one sort of anxiety attack situation. I've had a couple in my life, and it's miserable.
Yeah.
You feel like you're dying.
Yeah, I thought I had an elephant on my chest, and I was really young.
Right.
And I remember just being, and I don't remember the reasons, but I just remember one day feeling like I couldn't breathe. It was heavy. I did not know what was wrong with me. It was scary. But thankfully, I've only had that happen one time. But it rocked my world, because a lot of people live like that.
Yes. And it's not something that I would ever want anyone to have to experience, but I think it does give you perspective if you have experienced some type of an anxiety attack. And, for some people, there's situational things that go on. And for some people, there's just no real understanding of why or when these things hit. But, if you've experienced it to any degree, you know that it is very unpleasant.
Oh, yeah, but I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Yeah.
But I do think I went through that episode just so I could have more empathy.
I agree with that.
I think I was supposed to have my moment and not like it very much, so that I could understand.
Yep. Yeah, they do say that older adults are less likely to report psychiatric symptoms and more likely to emphasize physical complaints. But if you think about it, some of the things that depression does to you, or that anxiety does to you, like you're talking about, like you felt like you were dying, you felt heavy. So people might not really realize that. I mean, it feels like a physical thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. And then when you feel like that, you wonder physically what's wrong with you. And so do we then just have somebody give us a pill? Because we think that that's what the situation is, and we never go back to the initial situation and what actually caused that feeling in the first place. So I think we miss a lot of cues a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. You go straight to that medicine and somehow bypass or skip over what's the root of the issue. And I mean, there are a lot of different treatments out there that can help people with depression, and they don't all include just getting a prescription. Yeah, for sure. Same with anxiety. Yeah. There are lots and lots of coping techniques and different things people can do. So, you know what, even if you don't have depression or if you don't have anxiety, I really highly encourage you to go and do a little bit of research, because maybe it will help you be able to relate to people that do suffer from some of these conditions in a more empathetic manner.
Well, and also just on that topic alone, is it seems like we are in such a fast-paced world that we don't slow down and we don't necessarily check in on each other as good as we should. Right.
Well, and I'll be the old lady in the room to just put it out there. I think we all can agree, whether seeing other people go through things or personally having experiences, that social media is having a very, very unfortunate impact on a lot of our mental health. And, I just encourage you to set down your phone, set down the text or the whatever social media outlet it is, and actually pick it back up and dial the number and call your friend and say, how are you?
Yeah. Yeah, you were actually talking earlier about when you look at somebody, look them in the eye, and we're losing that.
Absolutely.
And with the pandemic, we're losing a lot of touch. And they were talking about, what is this going to do to our future generations when kids have learned to be 6 foot apart?
Yes.
And they've been taught that, that just the social media is the way to go because you can't get the cooties that way, or whatever the case. Yeah. But we're teaching ourselves that we can't do a handshake as easily and as comfortable as we used to.
Right. It's true. There are a lot of things.
But they do the fist bump now or the elbow bump.
Yep, for sure.
Oh yeah, nothing better than a good old fashioned handshake.
Yes, or a hug.
Yeah,
I'm a hugger.
Hugs are the best.
I had a meeting yesterday with some colleagues of ours on a different event that we work on. And I, when I was getting ready to leave, I went around the room and I hugged all of them. We were safe about it, but anyway, hugged them all. And then the guy that I started with was right by the door on my way as I was walking out of the meeting. So I went ahead and hugged him again. they're like, she's a hugger.
Yeah, cute.
Yes. Well, I think that, something that's had a pretty big impact is senior isolation during COVID,
right.
During the pandemic. And I thought we'd talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually becoming one of the most serious health issues faced by older Americans at this time. Mm-hmm. And we have seen it even in our business, because Absolutely. There's a lot of families that were so desperate to get their people home, because once somebody got into the hospital or to the nursing home or assisted living, they simply were unable to see them again, except through the window. You've heard these horrendous stories.
Oh yeah, we've had them. We've had families who their family member went into the hospital or skilled nursing, and the last that they got to see them was literally through a window, maybe touching hands through a window. Ugh, it's just very devastating.
Makes me so sad.
Well, and with the risk factors of a lot of the demographic that we are caring for, they have diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, respiratory diseases, cancer. And so we are definitely being told that these are at higher risk, right? So these people are maybe already have a compromised system, and so they're at more of a risk to end up getting COVID-19. So that means that they probably aren't going to be going out into the community as much as they once were. So they just then start to isolate.
And without that social interaction, you are missing such a chunk of your life.
What's sad about it is people are just scared. They're just scared. They're so scared. So we have families, individuals that have just kind of literally just locked themselves in their home, and maybe groceries can be delivered and left out on the porch. And it's just terrifying. Some situations it's a husband and a wife, but not every situation is that. Right. We have some people who are just very much by themselves and so afraid to go out. And so they're just by themselves. So I think there have been some programs that have gone into place, and we've tried to do a lot. I know when COVID first hit and these things were happening, we were calling every week, just checking in on people. How are they doing? Maybe we're not sending caregivers at this point, but we just still want to know that you're okay. And a phone call is better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we had Susan Kunda on, actually, like places like the Agency on Aging may have a program like ours does, where they will make daily calls to people, and just so they get that warm voice over the phone. Yep. How awesome is that, to get that call that just made your day?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to read a little statistic here, and then I think we can go into some of the reasons how or why seniors become isolated. But senior isolation is poised to become one of the most serious health issues faced by older Americans. Some 18% of adults aged 65 and older in the United States live alone, and 43% of them report feeling lonely on a regular basis. So
that's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. But you put together some information here for us about how seniors become isolated.
Yep. Well, and we see this all the time. Many seniors live far away from their siblings, adult children, and other family, making it difficult to maintain consistent contact. There are a lot of times, like our agency, we become that extended family because the closest one lives in Texas. Right. Or so they just are only able to see that person once every couple of years.
Yeah. Well, you touched on it earlier. Spouses and friends begin to pass away. Yeah. As an adult ages, and so that inner circle, as they get older, just starts to shrink and shrink and shrink.
Yep. Today's seniors have had fewer children than the generation before them, and so that means that there's a smaller family unit. There are times that when we do a home visit, like I just got a call today where I asked, now, how many siblings are there? How many do you have? Because I always want to know what is going to be the village. Right. And she said, well, it'll just be me taking care of my dad when he comes home.
Yeah.
So that helps me know that I need to step up that much more because not only are we taking care of him, we've got to be concerned for her.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another reason that seniors can become isolated is that hobbies or interests that are often what would help them stay socially engaged with others. As people age, they might lose the ability to remain as physically or mentally active. And so they can fall out of touch with some of those things. I always think about my mom and my grandma. My grandma forever has volunteered at the Clothes Closet, which is a United Methodist Women thrift store in Columbia Falls, Montana. And that's her thing. So like Tuesdays and Thursdays, she would always go, and she'd say she was volunteering at the Double K department store, which I love that. She's not been able to do that as much recently with her health issues. But I don't know, those things are really important. And so if you are feeling isolated and can get out there and find a way to volunteer or people to be around, I highly recommend it. Senior centers are great. And they have lots and lots of different activities. My mom, Grandma Jean, she loves to do the line dancing at the senior center. And that's something that keeps her socially engaged.
Seniors may become less mobile as they age. One of the stories I think about is Willie. Willie was just the sweetest man. He had been an active man his whole life. He had been a park ranger. He was just an incredible man, just out in nature. But as he started to age and he was more focused on his wife that we were helping take care of, we would encourage him to go have coffee with the boys. And he just did not. We offered to take him. We just knew that he needed to get out, but he had just shut himself in that house. And I think a lot of it actually was because he was not able to move around as easily. I think there was almost a bit of worry that somebody might judge him because he was not the man he used to be, just because his body had used it hard, so he walked more with that bent back, and I think also mentally a lot of people start to isolate themselves because they are very worried about not remembering somebody's name, or the topic that they're talking about, and so they just quit going to the coffee time or just quit seeing people.
Yeah, that's too bad. There are lots of reasons why people can isolate, but I think it would be good to move on and talk about some of the signs and symptoms of senior isolation. Loss of interest in socializing or engaging in interests. This is a big one, right? If a person who begins skipping out on their usual social engagements or stops participating in their hobbies or interests, they may be starting to spiral into that isolation. So if you are witnessing that, definitely pay attention.
Yeah. Dramatic changes in weight or appetite. That's a good one to be when you go and see somebody. Watch for that.
Yep. Sleep disturbances. Solitary seniors may begin sleeping too much, not enough, or at odd hours of the day.
Yeah, I think about clients that's one of the main things that the kids will talk about. We try to not let them nap during the day.
Right.
Well, we've got to keep them busy, and a lot of the times we're hired for socialization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lethargy, basically lethargic movement or speech is also a sign of possible isolation.
Yep. Neglect of personal hygiene.
Yep, we do see that quite a bit. And then there's the cognitive decline. By not socializing with the outside world and stimulating their minds, a person can slip into a cognitive decline. Studies have suggested that there is a link between isolation and an increased risk of Alzheimer's.
Wow. Increased use of alcohol, tobacco, or drugs. If an older adult who uncharacteristically begins to indulge heavily in alcohol, tobacco, or drug use may be coping with the effects of loneliness or isolation. Just this morning on the Today Show, they were talking about drug overdoses that were in complete sync of what we're talking about. They were just talking about the loneliness, the isolation, bringing on so much more of the overdose epidemic that's going on. People looking for an out.
Yeah. And if you notice that there's somewhat of like a self-loathing going on, a senior who is not as self-sufficient as they once were, they may express feelings of worthlessness, helplessness, or of being a burden to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very sad.
So watch out for those. And if you start to see them, it's definitely time to take some action and see what you can do to help your person.
Yep. And once again, I know that we talk a lot about the different resources that are out there, but if you find someone, you've got to find their family. You've got to find if they were attached to a church, you've got to get those resources out there to get these people the help they need. You've got to look for it. And so call a home care agency, call the hospital and talk to a social worker. Find the people in the community that know these resources. We've just got to help these people.
Yep. And it can be scary to put yourself out there again and try to get socially active, but it can definitely be worth it too.
Yeah. So
they do say that some of the things that people can do to try to help combat that isolation is volunteering, right? Yep. Just like I'm talking about with my grandma Fisher. That brings her so much joy and gives her just a feeling of worthiness, I think.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's great. They talk about continuing education, and like our community college here, they constantly have cool things: photography, a hiking group, pottery. Yeah. It doesn't matter. There's something out there all the time.
Well, and the really cool ones are the kids' college that happens in the summer.
I love those.
I myself have thought about enrolling. There might be an age limit, but yeah, continuing education, anything that you can do to just keep your brain going and surround yourself with people.
Yep.
Technology, and those various human beings have various skill sets when it comes to technology, but it can be useful to help stay in touch with friends and family.
Yep.
So,
yep. Facebook Live, there's Skype. When Bailey was in Africa, we used what was called WhatsApp.
Yep.
And that was an incredible connection because otherwise I wouldn't have seen her for weeks on end.
Yeah.
So what a blessing.
Yes. There's new stuff out there too. I see it all the time, like just little different gadgets and gizmos and gadgets. Something.
Gadgets.
We'll have to edit that one out. Anyway, I think it's called like Skylight or something like that. Is that the picture frame that you can send you can send pictures to it and then they just automatically pop up.
Oh, cool.
So it can just be very random.
Oh,
and then they have like little friendship touch lamps and bracelets and different things where you don't even have to be, I could be like this with Sammy in Tennessee and I just tap my bracelet and then hers lights up and so she knows I was thinking about her.
How sweet is that?
Yeah, and it's just a little thing. It's just a small little thing that lets you know somebody was thinking about you.
That's huge. I love that.
Yep.
Virtual hug.
Yep.
Yeah. You had brought up the group exercise programs.
Yes. So like I was saying, my mom, she does line dancing at the Senior Center in Columbia Falls. I know our Kalispell Senior Center has some different scheduled exercise opportunities and, and the cool thing is if you get involved with some of those, you just go at your own pace and you do what you can, but it's an opportunity to be around other people. And I suspect that it's a whole lot less about the exercise than it is about just getting to be able to socialize with people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Different clubs. Bridge is a big deal. Cribbage. There's a lot of people that they love to go out and teach at the schools how to play those games.
I'm laughing because my grandma and way before my time, she had a group of friends and neighbors, and I believe they called themselves the Clatterlip Society. And they would get together like monthly, and it was all the neighborhood ladies, and they would have a nice, I don't know if they had tea or what they did. They clatterlipped, I guess.
Oh, cute. Oh, that's awesome. Part-time jobs. Why not socialize with others, have a sense of purpose, and make a little spending money at the same time? That does remind me, we would take these people.
Hey,
seniors helping seniors. Oh, what a cool idea is that, to have people come in that are still able to drive or just do light housekeeping or just sit and visit, make them a sandwich.
Yep.
We would happy to hire people to do those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. And it's just so fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's good work. Finding or rediscovering a hobby. I've always said I need to find a hobby because I don't think I have any of those. So I'm working on that.
Life has been your hobby.
I think so.
Yeah, a pet may be a good or bad idea. Just depends on physically if you're able to handle it.
Yep.
And don't get a puppy, a baby animal, because they're just like a human. They eat, sleep, and poop.
They require a lot of oversight.
Yes, lots of energy.
We've actually had caregivers who have had pets, dogs, like therapy type dogs, like actual trained.
Yeah.
My Aunt Janice does that too.
Oh, cool.
She's had, I think it's called a therapy dog. But anyway, those are pretty neat too.
Yeah.
I always told Kevin actually that if I ever, as I age, if I ever do end up with any type of an Alzheimer's or dementia, I would like for him to get me like a cat. They actually have, you know what I'm saying, like simulations or whatever.
Yep.
It's like
They
very,
purr.
very lifelike.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's what would bring me the most comfort.
Yeah. Oh,
So remember that.
cats like you.
I know. I have this silly barn cat that he just never, like for years, he just sat out in the field and he was a stray. We don't know. But now he's my best friend. And when I go out there, oh my gosh, I just have to pick him up and he just rides around on my shoulder. And I just call him Ugly Kitty, but he brings me a lot of beauty for sure.
Cute. Churches are vital.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, if there's women's groups, there's prayer club, there's all kinds of ways to be involved.
And kind of even going back on the technology thing, because of COVID, I think churches a lot of them did it already, but there is an opportunity to be able to join into worship and sermons and things like that through the interweb.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's great. Some people move to an assisted living facility or type more of a social living environment. So there's more socialization opportunities.
Yep.
And we see that sometimes where, we know people want to just stay at home.
Right.
We get that, but there are times that it is entirely appropriate for somebody to go out there and live in that community for that social piece of it.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Well, those are kind of some different ideas or things that you can watch out for. And if you do think that you have identified yourself as someone that's struggling with some of these mental health, or you're aware of someone, we just really encourage you to reach out and, let them know that you're there. And if you can help provide some resources for them, maybe that's just a ride to the senior center, whatever it looks like, maybe a phone call a week.
We need each other.
We do.
Yeah. And strangers need each other too. I know it's all that stranger danger and stuff, but if you see somebody that's not quite right, just take a second.
Yeah.
Just smile.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Coolio. Well, thank you, Julie, for putting together that information for us. And I think we ought to just roll right into our grandma sayings.
Yes, we had Delphine that said that her word of wisdom is, if you're lucky enough to have your grandmother with you, sit and talk with her sometime. Ask her big questions, like what's the secret to a happy marriage? And the little questions, like when was the first time you put on lipstick?
It's true, isn't it?
Yep.
Sit down with them.
Yeah.
Ask them the questions.
And that helps with depression right there. Talk to them, have interest in them. And I mean, the one thing that I think about a lot when I meet people is, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known you when you were younger, and just that full of energy and all of those life stories.
Yes.
But don't forget that person is still a person.
Yes.
They have every single feeling. They have everything still.
Well, and I think if you can get someone to start talking, what you will find out will be amazing. I do love going out into the field, and I love sitting with people and hearing their stories. So much wisdom out there.
Really is. Yep.
Coolio. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, you can subscribe on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube. You can also leave us a review, share us with a friend, join the Apaga Care and Share Facebook group so that you can share in our discussion. If you have a verse that you would like to share with us, or an uplifting story, a grandma saying, we'll take it all.
See, this is a way to socialize.
Absolutely.
There you go. If you are feeling depressed, come and listen to us.
All right. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Have a good day.